Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host Indie Comics Jones. Today is October 1st, 2020, and this is episode 100, so thank you for stopping by and celebrating this. Hey, today we're going to look at OffWorld, the third issue in this series. This is a sci-fi double feature brought to you by Antarctic Press in their 35th year. And this Offworld, if you've been following my other series on this, is actually two stories. We've got the Offworld with Hazel, written and drawn by Colin Fogel, and just flip it over and you get the second story, which is Interstellar Dust by C.J. Hudson, and the art is by Igor Wolski. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this right off the bat. We'll take a look at the cover of this one first. We see kind of looks like a scantily clad Hazel. Looks like her clothes might be a little torn up, and she seems to be holding some kind of cat creature. Unfortunately, this scene does not happen in the book. Hazel is part of a group called the Deep Block Terror Squad. It's an all-woman group that on this dystopian city, they go beneath the city and search out criminal underground figures and whatnot, and try to keep the uplanders safe. So in this issue, not a lot happened, unfortunately. I'm enjoying both stories, by the way, and at one point I thought they were perhaps going to link together, but at this point in this juncture, getting this far along, it looks like the two are not going to link up. This one actually takes place on the surface of Earth. The other story is on a prison out in space. So let's go through this one real quick. This is the Hazel story. She and her squad go back to visit the orphanage, the Bright Hope orphanage where she grew up. Very crowded place, but the kids seem to love it there, and they love seeing Hazel, as you can see here. They're very much excited to see her because she plays with them, she interacts with them. The rest of her group aren't as interested, as you'll see. They kind of wander off. And so there's a little bit of play going on. At one point, she meets up the director of the orphanage, gives her a big hug, and she presents him with one of her full paychecks. I guess she gets paid a couple times a month, and she's giving one of them to them, keeping one for herself to live on. So it's kind of like the government, you earn a paycheck, and about half of it goes to the government, and well, she's giving her half to this orphanage. And in the meantime, there's another underground group that has come up into the orphanage, and for some reason, I'm seeing this. I'm believing this is supposed to be some kind of ambush of the Deep Block Terror Squad. They had a run-in with them earlier in one of the, I think it was the last issue, a short run-in, and now I think they're out to get revenge. And basically they attack, and she just tells them to run for it, and that's the end of the issue, basically. And we go to this Off-World center cut, which, again, they've done this in the other two books. Is the third time they've done it. I wish they would put a poster in here. This is like a prime opportunity. This is prime real estate, and they go with this Off-World section. I think in the first issue it was like 12. Hazel was 20 pages long or so, close to 20, and the Interstellar Dust story was about 10. So you got like 30. This time it seems much shorter, unfortunately. So we take a look at Interstellar Dust. This is Breach. And the first scene here, the setting it's the prison cafeteria. And this prison's huge. It's this big floating space station that it's kind of mobile, I guess. We'll move this over here to center it. And what happens right off the bat, one of the new inmates, his name is Kale, gets challenged by one of the other alien inmates. They've got all these different, it's very interesting because they have all these different races and aliens and all kinds of things up here, and they're all kind of grouped together. But he comes in contact with a very aggressive, very large alien, and the guards help him out on this one. So he's got blood and everything on there. And if you recall in the last issue, they detected a leak on the ship, and they'd sent a robot engineer to go. He's kind of a feisty old curmudgeon to find out what's happening. He finds there is a leak, and so they tell him to fix the leak. In the meantime, our Kale goes back, gets a new plate of food, and he meets up with Javin. Javin's telling him, you should have fought that alien. You shouldn't have just waited to be saved. Now everybody's going to think you're soft. And so in his own way, he thinks he's helping him out. Javin hucks his tray of food at another huge alien on another table and points at Kale as being the one that threw it. And so the alien starts to attack him. Meanwhile, in the hull of the ship, the engineer is trying to fix things. Suddenly, he gets all these alarms on his screen, and he sees that the hull is actually going to give way. So they tell him, the commander of the ship tells him to get out of there. They're going to seal it off and just let it explode or implode, whatever. So all the space will come rushing into there. Meantime, the fight's on between the alien and Kale here. He grabs a tray, knocks him close to out, while the ship begins to get a big breach in the hull from small to big, and then has a major explosion. So these guys are still fighting. All of a sudden, their ship is rocked, and it says, felt like something hit. Oh, and that's the end of that story. So, not a lot. Neither story progressed very far. There's a lot of neat characters on the prison ship. I wish they would go further in it. I wish these were longer. The stories are interesting enough, and you can just see there's a whole cast of characters in here. Well, this guy's actually no longer with us, but as opposed to Hazel, where it's basically her squad and then some enemies that come up every once in a while that she has to take on. But I'm still going to stick with it. It's interesting enough. The art is really nice. They did a good job on this. And like I had mentioned before, this is kind of manga styled, and this one's more of a, to me, more of a European look to it. So you get the best of both worlds, I guess you can say. So I'm going to be a recommend on this still. It is $3.99. Like I said, I wish my only complaint is the stories didn't go far enough in either one of them. Hopefully issue 4 we get a little bit more action. I think the previous books were also larger to the fact where they had advertisements in here, so you could see what else Antarctic Press was up to. But this one had no advertisements in it at all. It was just straight storylines. 2 storylines, and I didn't count the pages, but they seemed very short, so I can't imagine they're more than 15, 16 pages apiece. Anyway, this is Indie Comics Jones. Thank you for stopping by the Temple of Tomes. Please subscribe, like, leave comments, dislike, whatever. I just appreciate you stopping by and taking a chance with me. I'll have more comic reviews coming up towards the end of this week, and as always, I bid you adieu.